Well, I'm Wietske van den Heuvel, and I work as a senior consultant at the Den Foundation. We are based in the Netherlands, and we are a knowledge institution about culture and digitization. And today I'm going to talk a bit about AI and making sense of data, and also the potential of cultural artificial intelligence. So, first of all, if we look at the work we are doing currently, artificial intelligence can help us to make sense of data. And well, why is that necessary? Because if you look at the About Us page from Europeana, you see things like we work with thousands of European archives, libraries, and museums to share cultural heritage, and we provide access to millions of books, music, artworks, and other objects. Well, I mean, nobody is going to browse through all these collections at once or can make sense of these huge types of data. And that's just Europeana. I mean, we are all digitizing our collections. Our data sets are expanding fast. So we actually need AI to make sense of this data. But if we make sense of this data with technologies like speech recognition, image retrieval, text-to-speech, for who are we making them making more sense? Using AI gives us a chance to provide new experience to different types of users, teachers, students, researchers, but also fashionistas or lovers of types of glass. Their needs are always different, and their needs are also different at different times. So we need AI to give them a personal experience, to present more stories, more layers, more context. But we should also think about the level of agency we want to give our users. Normally, you don't see the algorithm, the choices and its ideas about who you are and what you like to do and like to see. But there is a huge potential there for cultural heritage institutions to be transparent about the assumptions and collected data, and to perhaps allow people even to tinker to the algorithms, to adapt to their own wishes. So at some point you might be able to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes instead of narrowing down this bubble. AI needs your data. We need it for wait a second. There it is, fighting the coded gaze. Because AI also needs our data. Why? Because if we look at the current development of AI, then we see that a lot of it comes from big tech companies. Their main focus is money, one way or another. And this isn't necessarily bad, but it's just different. And sometimes our expectations are too high if we rely on technology from big tech companies. So it's just a difference of interest. We also see that a lot of algorithms are developed by a small group of people with a lack of variety in data sets, which leads, obviously, to bias. So currently, AI doesn't properly reflect the immense variety in experiences, backgrounds, cultures, etc. And I'd like to show you a little video of Fighting the Coded Gaze by the Algorithmic Justice League.
This is a mask that I wore as a master's student at the MIT Media Lab when I was working on an art project. This art project would detect a face in a mirror and then display something like an animal or somebody who inspired me. So this project I called the Aspire Mirror. And as I was working on it, I realized that the software I was using had a hard time detecting my face. So when I put on the white mask, instead of struggling to be detected, it was flawless. And that was the moment I decided to start looking into why it was my face couldn't be detected, but this white mask could. My name is Joy Bulumwini, and I'm a public interest technologist. I started the Algorithmic Justice League when I realized we were entering the age of automation, overconfident and underprepared. I look at the ways in which computers learn to detect, classify, and identify faces. I wanted to build tools to help researchers and practitioners code in a more inclusive way and also think through what they were developing with the full spectrum mindset from the design, development, and deployment of their system. So for example, one of our latest projects is Gender Shades that provided quantitative data about the failure rates of facial analysis technology from some of the leading tech companies on actually classifying the gender of somebody's face. And what we found in that study was these systems work better on male faces than female faces. They also work better on lighter skin than darker skin. And if you broke it down into different subgroups, lighter males had the best performance. No company we tested had an error rate of over 1%. Whereas if you look at darker skinned females, you had error rates as high as 35%. So to have a tech company failing on 1 in 3 women of color or 1 in 3 women with faces like mine, it's very concerning. If you're looking at most of the world, you're looking at women and people of color. So if you're narrowly focusing technology to serve a very homogeneous group, and the technology is being developed by a homogeneous group, you're actually missing the majority of the world. One thing I've been really excited about with the Gender Shades research is that it's now being referenced by others to justify the need for more inclusive technology and also the need for more rigorous standards. So one of the areas in which the Gender Shades research has been used is an open letter to Axon's AI Ethics Board. Axon is a company that provides police departments with body-worn cameras, and they're considering putting facial recognition technology on the body-worn cameras. The Gender Shades research was used in an open letter stipulating specific steps that would need to be taken to make sure this technology isn't abused, and also stipulating areas it shouldn't be used in at all. So there aren't easy solutions, but there are definitely practices that can be involved in the design, development, and deployment of these technologies. I cannot just be a white mask and a shield on my own. We need everybody to add your perspectives and to add your voice so we can create a world where technology works well for all of us, not just some of us, and centers social change.
What this shows is that there isn't so much a need for more data, but there is definitely a need for other data. So cultural institutions can contribute to that. If they are available, the data is available to anyone, and transparency is key. Everybody can use the data and check where it's coming from. These data are not perfect, far from it even. But AI can also help us with that. For instance, in the Netherlands, there is a project called Sabio, which has just started, and they use AI to find bias in metadata and collection description. The links to all these projects will be shared in the chat. So, another thing is that we need science fiction in a broader sense. If you look at what cultural heritage and also the cultural institutions in a broader sense can do for AI, it's this. We need to be able to dream. We need to be able to reflect on what's happening with AI. So the availability of digital cultural heritage allows artists to become inspired, to create new things, and we need the art in artificial intelligence. Over the years, artists have used existing ideas about technology and their imagination to tell stories, create visions and objects, and to visualize the future. This is also the case for AI. Through Europeana, for instance, but also the Bodleian Library, the Gutenberg project, we can still enjoy one of the first science fiction books on machines and artificial intelligence. Air One by Samuel Butler. It was published in 1872. So people long ago were already thinking about how artificial intelligence shapes our thoughts and minds and our society. science fiction is important for us to reflect on these ideas and to also help with the development of technical developments. So there is also another video that I'd like to show, but it probably won't work, but I'll try anyway. It's this one, Heuvel by Christian Leclerc.
When we discuss art, we respect each other's opinion because we know our impressions are just highly subjective. But only until the artist steps into the room. Because now we have access to the creator and we have access to answers, asking how and why did you create this piece, what drove you? And I think it is because we link an artwork to its artist, an object to its origin. What drives me about AI art is to question this link between an intention and the relating piece. So, what if we perceive an artwork, but there will never be an artist stepping into the room? Basically no authority at all, just all of us becoming passive observers discussing forever. In order to define the form of Helen, we used a custom deep learning solution for 3D forms. This network is then trained with a dataset of 120,000 individual sculptures of historical busts. Once it is trained, our network generates new, alternative versions of this historical dataset.
As you can see, this is an artwork by Christian Leclerc, and he does a lot of art with artificial intelligence, but also reflects in the same time about what is it, what is art, what does it mean? So, and if we look at that, if artists are reflecting on AI, if they are using AI, but also if we are using AI on a daily basis in all kinds of areas in our society, then what does that mean for our archiving processes? How does the algorithmic archive look? Is it an object or a process? What are we archiving? It really, AI challenges us to rethink. What are we collecting? When are we collecting algorithms? Do we collect a process of evolvement or self-learning? Do we collect training data? So all these questions also need to be answered. And also, how do we represent it again to our users of the archive? And what will they see if in 20 years or 50 years, what traces have we collected today about algorithms and how they influence our lives? So AI is not just changing the normal, the experience of how we browse through these big collections. It will also change the concept of archiving. So, thank you. This was it for now, 10 minutes, well, 15 almost. So it was just a really broad overview of all kinds of issues that arise with using AI in a cultural context.